Victoria, one of the great challenges for all religions that anyone who wants to try to believe in a religion has to face is the existence of all the other religions. Every religion that you can look at has diametric contradictions in their doctrine. How do you deal with that? One reaction is to throw them all out.
Very often, people make the claim that because of religious diversity, all religions are somehow equally implausible. And the idea seems to be that religious diversity, simply as a fact on its own, is enough to discredit all religious views. I often find myself rather puzzled by this idea. And I find it helpful sometimes to think about diversity in a context abstracted from religious belief for a moment. So there are many cases, many situations in which we would regard diversity as of positive value. So for example, let me take something completely trivial first. Diversity in a menu in one's local restaurant is regarded as a very positive thing. A less trivial example, biodiversity, this is regarded as a very positive thing. So I myself am inclined to think of religious diversity more as a positive feature of our world environment than a negative feature.
Let me give you my trivial example as a counterexample to yours. I'm driving in my car and I see signs in terms of direction. And I'm driving from London to Birmingham. And one says Birmingham is that way to the right, and the other one says Birmingham is that way to the left. Mm-hmm. That to me is a closer analogy than to a menu at a restaurant or biodiversity.
Yes. So the kinds of examples which I have chosen, I think emphasize a different facet of what it is that religions might be offering us, whereas the example which you've taken seems to be trying to push the discussion more into thinking about factual claims. So obviously it will be the case that where you have factual claims that actually do contradict and give you instructions which are different based on these factual claims, then this is going to be somewhat more problematic than the kinds of cases which I was talking about. So one question would be, well, which is the better model for thinking about religious systems? And I'm not sure that there is a simple or straightforward answer to that, because religions do contain factual claims, and they do contain directions based on these factual claims. But there's more to them than that as well. And religions have an aesthetic dimension, which may be more related to my example of the menu. So somebody may be attracted to a religion for aesthetic reasons and follow the directions of life which it gives based on these kinds of considerations without worrying too much about the facts. I wouldn't recommend that strategy, but it's one which seems to be quite popular within some ways of thinking.
What would be an example of that? And I can appreciate what you're saying, where I could appreciate the aesthetics of a religion. What would aesthetics of a religion consist of?
Answering that question I think I would want to talk about the attractiveness which we might be able to identify within the lives of some people who are living within that religion. So the exemplary practitioners of the religion. It's possible that these people, in the way that they live, may express more about the values inherent within the religion or promoted by the religion than we would find by, say, reading theological books which come from the tradition. So the aesthetics of the religion might very much be tied up with what we can perceive in the lives of the people practicing it well. Of course, anyone who expounds on this kind of line, as I have in some of my work, has to face the question of, well, what about those who are not practicing it well and whose lives appear repellent? The aesthetics of religion, I think, is very much tied up with lifestyle. And people who adopt religious belief often say that the reason why they've done so is because they found something particularly attractive about the lives of the people who are already living within that tradition. So these kinds of ideas seem to approach religion at a level which doesn't really pay very much attention to the facts of the matter. Doesn't say anything about, well, are the claims that the religion makes true? Are they false?